Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucore Automotive. Today, we're talking about a road trip. It's a cold, snowy, terrible day here in central Ohio, but we're going to go south. We're going to go a long way south. We're going to go to Bradenton, Florida, visit the Freedom Factory. And we're going to do it all as part of the next 2500 road trip. Now, for those of you who don't know, which is probably most of you, this is a road trip that I started a couple of years ago with a couple of different friends. And the idea is we're going to take crappy cars, excellent but crappy cars, cheap cars, and we're going to drive a very, very long way. So, $2,500 cars, 2,500 miles. This year, the high point of that process is going to be visiting the Freedom Factory in Bradenton, Florida. If you haven't noticed, there is a little bit of a dramatic situation going on down there where they're trying to build some homes next to Cleetus McFarland's racetrack. And we figured, why not? Let's use this as an opportunity to go down, visit old Cleeter, check out his racetrack, and put some miles on our old cars. As you can see, this one is still wearing the 2500 livery. But let me talk about what we're going to do, where we're going to go, when this is going to happen, and who all is going to go on this trip. Stay with me just a minute. Let me get inside because it's cold and windy out here. Be right back. Stay tuned. We're based here just outside of Columbus, Ohio, so we're going to be using the shop here at Lucore Automotive as our starting location. The day one drive is going to be starting in Columbus and heading to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, which anybody who's been in eastern Tennessee and done the Smoky Mountains stuff, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Dollywood, all that kind of stuff, that's where we're headed for day one. So here's the route we're going to be using. It ends up being 405 miles. According to the GPS on the Google Maps, it's 6 hours and 15 minutes of drive time. Now, that is as the crow flies, that is without any stops or deviations or breakdowns. But it's a pretty good solid hike. You know, you're easily probably going to be 7 hours with fuel stops. But that would put us from Columbus here all the way down to Pigeon Forge on day one. Gets us 405 miles plus or minus knocked down. All right, so day two starts us off in Pigeon Forge. Now this is going to probably be the best day of driving of the entire trip. It's also going to be consequently the shortest amount of actual distance, largely because we're doing a lot of back and forth stuff, because we're in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. So anybody who's done any driving in that area knows that there's a couple of pretty significant roads you want to try, and that's where we're headed. We're going to be going to do the Tail of the Dragon. Not only the Tail of the Dragon, we're also going to do the Blood Mountain Road down in Neels Gap into North Georgia. We're going to be doing all of the fun little roads that are around Helen, Georgia, which is a beautiful little Bavarian town up in the mountains northeast of Atlanta. Wonderful, wonderful day. It's only ended up being 200 miles, and it's a lot of, like I said, back and forth driving. But it's going to probably be, well, not probably, it's going to be by far the most attractive roads and environment that we can drive in. Now, the cars that are going to be going on this trip are going to be a little bit more exciting than what I'm probably going to be driving. So this should be fun for a lot of people, and it should be fun to be able to film it and share with you guys. We are going to be behaving ourselves. This is not something where we're going to go out and do hooligan stuff, but we will enjoy our drive. The plan for night two is actually to spend the night in Helen. It's a beautiful little Bavarian town. Feels like it came out of literally somewhere in Germany. Odd little spot, but really, really pretty. And that's the idea for day two. We're going to just enjoy ourselves driving, not put a lot of miles on these cars that day, but there is a lot of twisting, turning, braking, and that kind of stuff. So it's not going to be a lot of miles because it's in 35, 45 mile an hour areas, but it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to enjoy ourselves. Now, we may end up pushing a little south of Helen depending on how the day goes, because that's about a 4.5 to 5.5 hour drive time from Pigeon Forge to Helen, depending on how that goes. But we may push a little south of Helen to be able to put ourselves in a better position for day three. Now, day three is going to take us from the Helen, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia area all the way down to Bradenton, Florida, where the Freedom Factory is, Cleetus McFarland's little place to play. Anybody who's been paying attention to the internet lately in the car world has probably seen that Cleetus is having some complications with zoning next to his racetrack, where they're looking to put a 4,500 home subdivision right next to his racetrack, which is unfortunately how a lot of racetracks die. He's been fighting it. It looks like it's probably not going to go his way, but we're going to be headed this direction anyway, so we figured why not use this opportunity to go to the Freedom Factory, visit those guys, hopefully get involved in something, because they actually have an event going on the weekend we're going to be headed down that way. Their winter warm-up event is scheduled for Friday and Saturday in that month of February, and we're going to be able to actually get down there on Saturday, if depending on when we leave the Atlanta Helen area. So this is by far one of the longer drives that we're going to do on the day. It's 581 miles from Helen to Bradenton, Florida. 8 hours and 30 minutes of drive time according to GPS, you know, plus or minus with traffic and fuel stops and that kind of thing. Hopefully no breakdowns. But it should put us there into the evening, so we can actually catch the tail end of the events there at the Freedom Factory and spend the day in, the rest of the evening in Bradenton, Florida, and have ourselves a good time. Maybe run into Cleetus. We'll see if we're that lucky. So that's day 3. Day 4 is going to take us headed back the other direction. We're going to be going back north. So we're going to be leaving Bradenton, Florida. We're going to head across Florida, through Orlando, through Tampa, through Daytona Beach, probably do some lunch in Daytona, and then head north up to Savannah, Georgia for the end of day 4. That's a 398-mile drive, 6 hours and 15 minutes, 6 hours and 30 minutes, depending again on road conditions and traffic. You know, that may be up to 7 hours, but we're trying not to load any really, really long days like we have in days past. So that's the plan for the next day. The 5th day, we're going to be coming up the east coast of the United States, leaving Savannah, Georgia, headed up through to Myrtle Beach. Probably hang out in Myrtle Beach, have a lunch, that kind of thing. There's plenty of things to do that are in Myrtle Beach. And then we're going to finish that day, which will be day 5, in Charlotte, North Carolina, which wonderful little city. We're going to have ourselves a good time in Charlotte that night. Then the final day is going to be a big push back home. So we're going to be leaving Charlotte, and we're driving to a little area called Marion. Between Marion, North Carolina, and Micaville, North Carolina, is a area of road called the Devil's Whip. Very similar to the Tail of the Dragon, where it's a really fun mountain road, lots of twists and turns and elevation changes, to get one last really fun drive in before we call this trip quits. So that's going to run us from Marion to Micaville, and then up through Johnson City, up through Kingsport, and then we're going to run straight north from there all the way back up to Columbus, Ohio. So, all told, the idea here is 2,500 miles. We end up at 2,464 miles as far as mapping goes through with the GPS. Good enough for us. That's 2,500 miles. We're going to have offshoots. We're going to have overlaps. We're going to have runbacks. We're going to have situations where we get, you know, deviated from the normal path. So we'll easily get over the 2,500. It'll probably end up in the 2,500 or 2,600 to 2,800 mile range. That's typically how this has worked out in the past.
Now, what kind of a vehicle would I take on such a long and exciting journey through some of the best roads on the east coast of the United States? Well, I'll tell you. Actually, I'll show you. But you've seen it before. I actually bought this car specifically for the purpose of going on the 2500 last year. And that is my 1993 940 turbo Volvo wagon. Not to be confused with my basically identical 1994 940 turbo Volvo wagon, which you saw at the beginning of this video. You'll note this one doesn't have the livery on the side of it. I bought this car a year ago, as I said, specifically for the purpose of taking it on this road trip, and it never happened. But it's going to happen now, next year. We're going to leave on February the 2nd. We're going to be arriving on back home on February the 7th, God willing. This car, as I said, I bought for $2,400. It's got a gigantic dent in the door. It's got a lot of things that are bad. It happened to have a rebuilt title on it that I didn't realize, but that's okay. It's just fine. A couple of things that are, you know, falling apart, the trim pieces and stuff. But mechanically, it's not really great mechanically. The transmission's failing. Brakes aren't that great. It's got a really bad exhaust leak. The powered seats don't move. You know what? Prices have been weird in the used car market, okay? So I overpaid for the car. I did. I'll be honest. I overpaid for the car. It was probably a $1,500 car, but used car prices are stupid right now, so we're going to kind of, you know, put an asterisk on the the $2,500 thing this year. So I've got a couple of friends that are actually going to come with me again this year. Phil, whom you guys have seen on the previous 2500 road trip. He went with me all the way up through Michigan, all the way across the Upper Peninsula, through Minnesota, then back down. That was 2 years ago. Then you also saw another gentleman that came with us on the Fat Guys Food, Booze, Barbecue, and Blues trip. My friend Paul, he's going to be coming, and he's going to be bringing his Subaru Legacy GT that he picked up, actually from a previous customer of ours that needed some work, and she needed to get out of that car. So he's got that he's going to bring. Our good friend Jim, who is going to be bringing his recently acquired purchase, which you'll see on his No Sleeves Garage Instagram. And he was the gentleman that drove my yellow Pontiac, that car, on the Hot Rod Power Tour last year. Now we've got a couple of other people that are possibilities that are going to come as well. We've got to figure out if they can get cars between now and when the trip happens. But that's the plan as of now. Couple of dudes, or a bunch of dudes, taking a long road trip in crappy cars through some beautiful area of the world on some incredible roads, stopping by the Freedom Factory, having a great time, eating a bunch of great food. What could possibly go wrong? Now, this 2500 road trip thing is not all about drama. It's not about manufactured anything. You know, this is literally just some guys that are friends. They're going to go out on a long road trip. This is something you could do with your friends. You know, buy some crappy cars and go out on a road trip. It just so happens that we're going to go on a really, really, really long road trip and end up with, you know, 2,500 miles or so in our crappy cars. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We've had a great time in the last two. The first one we did all the way out from Columbus, all the way out to Devil's Tower, which was awesome. Definitely not without issues. I did take a gasoline bath. Here's that video, so I can relive that one more time.
It's not going to see a shitload of pressure and, you know.
I promise you it's going to gravity feed all over me.
Well, yeah, that was my concern before, and you were about to start pulling lines off of that. But
You guys did not realize how much gas is on him right now.
no, they do. Yeah, having a wood floor shop, and just let it evaporate. Yeah, throw some cat.
All right.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't
So
mind
this line goes to here.
Yeah, if you can find something cheap. Ow! Eventually I'll find a parts place like that.
Ah, son of a... But Devil's Tower was amazing. We had a great time on that. It was a pretty exhausting journey, but fantastic. The second one we did from Columbus, like I said, all the way up through Michigan, up through the UP, all the way across to Minnesota, and back down again. That was a great trip. Had a wonderful time. Saw a lot of beautiful, beautiful stuff through there. Wonderful, wonderful experience. But this time we're headed south. We're gonna go get ourselves, hopefully, some slightly warmer weather than it's gonna be here in the beginning of February in Ohio. But you never know what you're gonna run into, you know? You really never know. So that's the plan. We're gonna be leaving the 2nd of February. We're gonna be arriving back here, God willing, on the 7th of February, and all of our cars will still be in one piece. I will be updating you guys between now and then as far as vehicle preparation, who's bringing what vehicles are going to go on this. If we've got other people that we're going to be adding to the trip, there's a couple of feelers out from another couple of people to see whether or not they're going to come as well. So I just want to let you guys know there's some interesting road trip ahead. We know it's not for everybody. We know that's not what you guys are typically here for. It's more the classic cars and muscle cars and that kind of stuff, not necessarily the road trip stuff, and definitely not in crappy cars. But we enjoy it, and some of you guys do enjoy coming along on these kind of trips with us. So hopefully you guys are going to be looking forward to that. As I said, I'll keep you guys updated and give you some more information on that as it gets closer. So thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And let us know if there's some spots along the route that we need to stop and see. Places we need to eat would be a big thing, because all of us are, you know, hearty guys. So places to eat, places to drink, always a good thing to have. And yeah, I gotta go back to work, guys. We'll see ya. Take care.